On the rooftop of a glass skyscraper in downtown Seattle, a helicopter sat waiting, keys in the ignition, fuel tank full. CEO Chloe Kensington paced in her tailored black suit, phone pressed to her ear, voice sharp with urgency. She needed to fly now. A multi-million-dollar contract depended on it. Two assistants scrambled beside her, calling every backup pilot in the city, all unavailable. Before we continue this incredible story, if you believe in the power of kindness and love stories that remind us what really matters, please subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Hit that like button and drop a comment telling us about a time when someone's kindness changed your perspective. Your support helps us share more stories that warm the heart and inspire the soul. Then a man in a grey janitor's uniform stepped forward, mop still in hand. "I can fly it," he said quietly. The assistants burst into laughter. Chloe looked him up and down, then smirked coldly. "Fly this helicopter and I'll marry you." None of them knew they just mocked one of the finest military pilots America had ever trained. Chloe Kensington was 29 years old and already running Kensington Aerospace, a mid-size aviation company her late father had built from nothing. She'd inherited his office, his board, and his reputation for being ruthless. Her dark brown hair was always pulled into a tight bun. Her blazers were sharp. Her heels clicked like gavels on marble floors. Everyone at the company feared her, and she preferred it that way. She had a saying she repeated to herself every morning before meetings: "Never let emotion touch the cockpit." It applied to business. It applied to life. Years ago, she'd been engaged to a man named Derek. He'd been charming, ambitious, supportive, until the day her father died and she became CEO. Then he left. Said he couldn't handle being Mr. Kensington. The betrayal hardened her. She stopped trusting people. She stopped believing in love. Now she believed in contracts, numbers, and control. Her company was on the verge of landing a historic deal with SkiTech, a tech conglomerate looking to modernize its private fleet. The contract was worth 8 figures. It would cement Kensington Aerospace as a national player. But SkiTech's executives were old school. They wanted face-to-face meetings, handshakes, eye contact. Chloe had scheduled the final signing at their headquarters across the city. The helicopter was her solution to Seattle's notorious traffic. Everything had been planned perfectly until the pilot called in from the hospital with a broken wrist. Liam Walker was 32, though most people at Kensington Aerospace barely noticed him. He worked the late shift, mopping floors, wiping down windows, emptying trash bins in the executive wing. He wore the same grey uniform every day, kept his head down and never made small talk. He was tall, lean, with short brown hair and tired eyes. People assumed he was just another guy trying to get by. What they didn't know was that Liam had once worn a different uniform. He'd been Captain Liam Walker, United States Army helicopter pilot with 2 tours overseas and a chest full of commendations. He'd flown Black Hawks in combat zones, evacuated wounded soldiers under fire, and earned a reputation as one of the most precise pilots in his unit. But that life ended 3 years ago when his wife, Sarah, died in a car accident on a rainy highway outside Tacoma. She'd been 8 months pregnant. Liam had been overseas when it happened. He came home to an empty house and a 5-month-old son named Finn, born prematurely and being cared for by Sarah's elderly mother. The grief was a ground explosion that shattered his world. The military offered counseling, but Liam had already shut down. He'd left the service, given up everything, and taken the only job he could find that allowed him to be anonymous, to work at night and to be home during the day for his son, whom he was raising alone now. He saw Chloe every night, a fierce silhouette behind her office glass, and recognized the same haunted solitude he carried. For a long moment, Chloe just stared at Liam, the sarcastic remark hanging in the damp Seattle air between them. But she saw something in his eyes, a steadiness that contradicted his uniform, a calm that had nothing to do with mopping floors. The clock was ticking, the SkiTech executives were waiting, and the city's gridlocked streets were a prison. Desperation overrode pride. "Get in," she snapped, tossing the words like a challenge. Without a word, Liam propped his mop against a vent, climbed into the pilot's seat, and began a pre-flight check with a fluid, unconscious expertise that made Chloe's assistants fall silent. His hands moved over the controls, not as a stranger, but as a composer returning to a beloved instrument. Within minutes, the rotor blades were whirring, slicing through the overcast sky. The helicopter lifted off the rooftop with a smoothness that felt like silk, soaring over the Puget Sound and the iconic Space Needle. Chloe, strapped in beside him, watched his profile. There was no hesitation, no uncertainty, only a profound, quiet command. He navigated the air corridors over Seattle with an economy of movement that was breathtaking. For the first time in years, Chloe felt a flicker of something other than control, awe. She finally spoke, her voice barely audible over the rotor thrum. "Who are you?" He kept his eyes on the horizon, the cityscape of Seattle unfolding beneath them like a glittering map. "Liam Walker. I clean your offices on the 32nd floor." "You're a pilot," she stated, the realization dawning. "Was," he corrected softly. "A long time ago." The flight was a short one, but in that confined space something shifted. Chloe's usual armor of cold efficiency felt unnecessary, even foolish. When they touched down perfectly on the designated helipad at the Skitech headquarters, 5 minutes ahead of schedule, she turned to him. "Wait here. I'll be back." The meeting was a triumph. The Skitech CEO, impressed by her punctuality and poise, signed the contract with a flourish. The deal was sealed, yet all through the handshakes and congratulations, Chloe's mind was on the silent man in the grey uniform waiting in the helicopter. On the return flight, she was different. The cold CEO was gone, replaced by a woman grappling with a profound miscalculation. "I owe you an apology," she said, the words foreign on her tongue. "And a great deal more. Name your price. A bonus, a promotion, anything." Liam guided the helicopter back toward her building. The skyline of Seattle bathed in the soft gold of late afternoon. "I don't want your money, Miss Kensington." "Then what do you want?" she asked, genuinely perplexed. He was quiet for a moment, the only sound the steady beat of the rotors. "I wanted to remember what it felt like to fly. And I wanted you to see that the person you look past every night might be someone you should look at." The honesty of it struck her like a physical blow. They landed. Her assistants rushed forward, chattering about the successful deal, but Chloe waved them off. She looked at Liam, really looked at him, past the uniform, into the tired, courageous eyes. "My offer?" she began, her voice uncharacteristically soft. "The one I made on the roof. It was cruel and flippant. I am sorry." Liam gathered his mop, a small, sad smile touching his lips. "I know, don't worry, I'm not holding you to it." But as he turned to leave, Chloe found herself speaking again, driven by an impulse she didn't fully understand. "Liam, would you consider being my pilot? Not just today. For the company. We need someone with your skill." He paused. "I have obligations. My son Finn, my schedule." "We'll make it work," she said. And it was not the voice of a CEO making a deal, but of a woman proposing a partnership. "Full benefits, a schedule that works for your family, please." He saw the sincerity in her eyes, the thawing of a perpetual winter. He nodded. "I'll consider it." That single flight changed everything. Liam became Kensington Aerospace's chief pilot, his reputation within the company transforming overnight from invisible janitor to respected legend. Chloe slowly let down her guard. She learned about Sarah, about Finn, about the weight of loss he carried. With such grace, he in turn saw past the razor-sharp blazer to the lonely, wounded woman inside who'd built walls to survive. Their friendship grew with a cautious, mutual respect, blossoming over shared late nights and conversations about more than just business. 6 months later, on a clear Seattle evening, Liam took Chloe on a flight over the city, not for a meeting but for a view. As the sun set behind the Olympic Mountains, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple, he didn't propose. Instead, he said, "You once offered me a marriage as a joke. I'm offering you a partnership for real, not in business, in life." And Chloe Kensington, who had believed in contracts and control, found herself saying yes to something built on trust. The one thing she thought she'd never risk again. They were married a year later, with a beaming Finn as the ring bearer. And every morning Chloe still repeated her mantra, but she had amended it. Never let emotion touch the cockpit, unless you're sharing the flight with someone who knows how to navigate the heart. The story of the CEO and the janitor pilot became a legend in Seattle, a reminder that heroes and love are often found in the most unexpected places, wearing the most unexpected uniforms. If you enjoyed this story of unexpected courage and transformative love, please show your support for more heartfelt content by liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel, Kindness True Stories.